I want to get into this study on happiness. I want to get into the study on happiness and specifically how liberals can be happier. And this is an article in the New York Times, and I really enjoyed this article. I picked out a few excerpts here, and this isn't going to be some sort of like liberal versus conservative bullshit. You know, I'm very liberal on some issues, I'm conservative on others. I don't really think of myself in a broad ideological fashion. I if you give me an issue, I'll give you my take on it, and that's how I think about it. And then some people say that take is conservative, others will say it's liberal. So I think this article did a great job in the New York Times of how to kind of dissect happiness without making it political. So the article goes on to say, some scholars believe that the happiness gap between conservatives and liberals is driven by differences in how liberals and conservatives think. Liberals and conservatives think about politics and inequality. For example, John Jost and Jaime Napier, two psychologists at NYU, have written that, quote, the rationalization of inequality, a core component of conservative ideology, helps to explain why conservatives are, on average, happier than liberals. In other words, happiness is a function of legitimating the world as it is. Conservatives are not happy because they're fine with the status quo. Liberals are unhappy because they're not. So there's this theory that conservatives are more happy because they don't care about inequality, whether it's financial or racial or whatever. It's that conservatives are, they're just like, fuck it, the world's fucked up, it's not equal. Who cares? People are dying. We're happier because we don't feel that as strongly as liberals do. We don't feel that wealth divide. We don't feel that racial divide, whatever divide you're talking about. That was the previous theory. It goes on to say the general hypothesis presented by Mr. Jost and Miss Napier carries enormous intuitive appeal. If your politics are about social justice, change, and progress, then it stands to reason that you might feel unhappy with life as it is. And that's true. I mean, if you're unhappy, it gives you a good reason to be unhappy because you're like, oh, I'm unhappy because I give a shit about human beings. I give a shit about human lives. When I see a homeless guy in the street, it makes me unhappier than a conservative who sees a homeless guy in the street because he wants to burn that person for profit or something. So it was an outlet for liberals to convince themselves about a false source of their happiness. It goes on to say, but for liberals who want progress and personal happiness, thankfully, this isn't the only explanation. In our research and in that of others, another theory has emerged. Human connection lends meaning, direction, and a sense of solidarity to our lives. In short, it helps make us happier. Arthur Brooks of Harvard, for example, told us, quote, a lot of our happiness is out of our control, based on genetics and circumstances, but some of it we can control. It requires we invest in 4 things each day. Those 4 things, he said, are faith, family, friends, and work, in which we earn our success and serve others. The liberal-conservative happiness gap then may not be primarily about political ideology, but rather connections to our country's 3 core institutions. Self-identified liberals are less likely than conservatives on average to be tied to family, faith, and community. So that's what the latest research seems to point to, which makes sense. I mean, I know there are a lot of people, a lot of movement on the left to go against family and sort of institutions, and people are more open to things that are liberals, and they see less boundaries. So when you see an institution, you're more likely to think, why is this institution here? We should break this down. We should liberate people from institutions, whereas conservatives are more, no, like we want boundaries. We want institutions. Boundaries can be good. And structure can be good, and social interaction comes from those structures. And that seems to be more of the reason for happiness on the conservative side. And it's not saying that liberals can't be conservative. They even go into this article about how, liberals who have faith in whatever religion or spirituality you practice, have families, like they're also happier. So it's not a liberal versus conservative thing. It's just a pro-social institution, a pro-social interaction thing. So when you have things like family, faith, and community, that tends to make people happier because you're seeing people every week, you're getting that interaction. And a lot of people that are against institutions like churches, and I'm not religious, I'm an atheist. I grew up going to Catholic church. I went to a Catholic high school. I grew up with faith, and which I don't have now, but I'm also part of institutions like going to gyms, going to Muay Thai, practicing steel mace flow, doing podcasting, being in groups with friends. Like I have an active source of being in groups throughout my week, so that makes me feel connected. But for a lot of people, especially people that don't live around places like New York, LA, or Chicago, in the middle of the country with less population, a lot of people get together at churches. That's a main source of camaraderie and a main source of social connection. It's that if you live in a small town, one of the ways that you see everyone every week is that you go to mass or you go to temple, you go to mosque, whatever it is. And that has a value in itself. Even if you don't believe in a religion, which I don't. I don't have faith in religion. I would describe myself as more spiritual. Not that I'm above religion. I don't see it like that. I just choose to believe in other things and practice other things. When you look at religion institutions as a structure and as a place of social gathering, that has a positive, no matter what goes on within those walls, whether it's you're talking about the Bible, you're talking about the Torah, Quran, whatever, you got a crazy priest or, a priest that barely speaks English and you can't understand what anyone's saying, with a 90-year-old lady about to pass out on the organ. You're still getting together with people, and that's valuable on its own. So it's not that religion makes people happy. It's that these institutions like family, faith, and community, having a family, getting together with family gatherings, which have been tough and which I'm looking forward to getting back to this holiday season. That is the source of happiness. Family, faith, and community. And at the end of the article, it says, they cannot lose sight of this paradox. Individual happiness is more likely to be found. Individual happiness is more likely to be found not by directly pursuing it, but by embracing social institutions that can call on us to focus first on the welfare of others. Again, you cannot lose sight of this paradox. Individual happiness is more likely to be found not by directly pursuing it, but by embracing social institutions that call us to focus first on the welfare of others. And that is exactly what I think Tony Fauci is doing. That's what Tony Fauci is doing. Fauci is selflessly covering up his involvement in the lab leak because he's focusing on the welfare of others. Tony Fauci is like the White Knight in The Dark Knight. He's like Harvey Dent. Harvey Dent is this guy that came up and people love him. He's popular. He knows everyone. He goes against the criminals, which to him are the viruses, and he gets well known. And all of a sudden, this other force shows up in his life. Maybe something bad happened to him. And he just flips. I didn't snap close enough. And he just flips. And then he starts talking bullshit. And, maybe people get harmed because of it. Maybe he's not looking at the evidence. Maybe he's not doing what got him to where he is. And if people saw him for the thing that he's become, it would cause people to lose faith in the system. It would cause people to lose happiness because faith gives you happiness. And there are a lot of people that have faith in Fauci. If I, how funny would that be if you pass a church and it says on the billboard, "Have faith in Fauci. Praise be the Lord, Fauci Christ." But a lot of people do have faith in Fauci. And if they found out that he was full of shit, which I'm not saying he is, I'm sure some of the things he says are true, but there's a lot of evidence that points to things he said that are not, or he refuses to acknowledge. If the essence of Fauci, if the aura of Fauci, if the character of Fauci got destroyed, there would be a lot of people that would lose their peace. There would be a lot of people that didn't know what to do, didn't know what to believe. They'd lose their faith, they'd lose their happiness. So instead, he is selflessly propping himself up. Selflessly, not selfishly. He's selflessly doing this for us. He's covering up any sort of notion or scrap of evidence from the lab leak, his involvement, any other U.S. organization's involvement. He's covering this up selflessly so that we can maintain our faith in him as the white knight. And we'll find someone else to blame. You know, we need the dark knight. We need someone to come along and take the blame for COVID. And that will make us all feel good. It will make us be happy. And you know what? I know he's a guy doing a job. I'm talking about Batman right now, not Fauci. I know Fauci is a guy doing a job, and I want to believe that he wakes up every day, as I can't even talk. I want to believe that he wakes up every day thinking about how he can save the world and do a good thing and be an overall net positive, and that the things that he's saying and doing, he's not doing them out of bad faith. He's doing them out of a skewed perspective, that he genuinely believes that he's making a world a better place with what he's doing. And I want to believe that. I don't know if I actually do, but I want to. I think most people wake up and they want to make the world a good place. They want to have a purpose. They want to make money. They want to fuck. They want to hang out. And we all have these few primal motives and instincts that we want to fulfill. Everyone has that. And we try our best. And, you know, if Fauci is not that guy anymore, he was that guy. And I'm hopeful that things will change. Maybe Batman will come out of nowhere, but he, you know, we're in a tough place. And I consider myself very lucky. I have a job that I can do remotely. I can record podcasts with guests in person and also remote, which has helped me get through the pandemic. And things are starting to open up around the country. And I hope that family, faith, and community will come back to where they once were so that we can all be happy. We can be happier. We can feel that connection, because I think a lot of people have lost that connection. A lot of people have just gotten used to having no social connections, because I know I did for a long time. There were months where, you know, I'd be in my apartment by myself and I'd see 2 people that week that weren't on Zoom. Talk to 2 people and, you know, your body adapts and your mind adapts very quickly. And then now that I'm going back in this was even, you know, beginning of 2021, you know, going back into gyms, back into restaurants, hanging out, traveling, going to Colombia, Netherlands, France, meeting strangers, having conversations. You forget how happy that shit makes you. And you get used to not having it, and you think that this is the happiest you're ever going to be. And then you go back out into the world and you realize, oh, fuck, there's a whole nother layer here. So thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed that episode. I know I definitely had some fun recording it. Again, if you want bonus episodes like this, you can subscribe to AUXORO Premium, which will be linked to this video. It will also, you can just go to auxoro.supercast.com AUXORO.supercast.com for less than $5 a month. You can sign up for the year, and you'll get 2 bonus episodes per month. That includes solo episodes and other conversations. And you can also submit topics and questions for me to talk about on the podcast. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.